Hello, hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, let me know if you guys are not able to hear me in the YouTube chat. Yeah, so let's start. Cool. Today we'll be looking into voice agents, and I'm Sai Prabhakar, and the code we'll be going over a lot of demos in this call today. And the code for this is available publicly, and this is my LinkedIn QR code. Feel free to uh, message me or follow me on the LinkedIn or on the Twitter or X platform. Before starting, a little bit about me. I completed my BTech in 2015 in IIT Madras in India, then moved to USA for MS in robotics in CMU. After that, I worked for a brief period in Disney Research in deep learning. Then later worked on a bunch of startups uh, from 2018 to 20 from till now, working in the Gen AI plus healthcare space. This was even before we called it Gen AI. Uh, so let's begin. Feel free to drop in any questions that you guys have. And I think our moderators can collect all the questions during the session, and then I'll take breaks in between. Uh, and then we can go over the questions. Cool. So I'll go over the outline of this talk now. And we'll talk about voice bots in general. And we'll go over use cases and common technologies you use in voice bot, what is important when you're building a voice bot, and how do you measure success, how do you optimize it, and so on. And then we'll go over the code and go over the code and demos. That will be the bulk of the talk. We'll go over simple bot and how do you use a voice bot with a RAG implementation, and then also develop a slightly more complex bot as well. And then we'll look at some of the future facing things like multimodal models. Okay, I do see some couple of people saying they can't hear anything in the chat, but let me know if others can hear it. Maybe try to refresh it. Cool, but proceeding. So in general, voice agents is a latency sensitive uh, product, right? You need to respond fast, and then typically when we build voice agents, it's specifically for a particular use, and you need like guardrails or like whatever in the LLM world we have, like retrieval, tool calling, everything has to be really fast, right? Because users will drop the call if you're building a phone call agent or a app. Users will drop the call if they perceive that it's taking too long, or if they want to feel human like interface, but they are getting like a annoyed with bots, right? And also this is the core crux of the problem we have: latency versus intelligence trade-off. You need to respond quickly, so the models we use are will be typically small size models, right? uh, then it won't have as much intelligence. So this is the typical trade-off we have. uh, and let's move on. This is a typical pipeline, and this is the typical pipeline you have uh, when you are building a voice call. Both when you are building a voice call agent, as well as uh, like in a mobile app, or if you are building a telephone solution, right? A robot is calling you, right? And speaking with you. For both of them, this is the typical pipeline, and we'll in the end we'll talk about more advanced solutions using multimodal models. So first, you need to collect the user speech, right? And then with low latency, you want to stream the user speech uh, to your backend servers, and then typically we run voice activity detection on it, and then after that we do speech to text transcription automatically on that, and then we'll use that to reason and then generate a response with an LLM model. And we'll convert the LLM response to text to speech. Using text to speech, we convert that to speech, and then we have to also play it back to the user. Again, all of these things should happen real time with uh, within 0.5 seconds, right? Otherwise, the user will be able to notice the lag, right? Let's look at each of these frames, right? These are called frames typically, and what technologies are being used, what is important in that module. So in the user speech side, to collect the user speech and stream it real time, we typically use two technologies, two categories. One is WebRTC. You use WebRTC for streaming real-time audio and video when you are using browser or mobile apps. And if you are doing this over a phone, if you're building your product over the phone, we typically use telephony solutions like PSTN. Twilio is a popular company that provides a telephony solution actually. Uh, and this is used both to collect the user speech as well as to play back the voice, the AI's response to the users. And then you also need to detect when the user is interrupting to make it feel natural, etc. Right? Your solution need to support all that. So next in the pipeline is the voice activity detection, and it's used to detect when the user is speaking, when the user wants the AI to stop and they are interrupting, and then Celerio voice activity detection is a very popular model used in this space. It's developed by academia and it's open sourced, and it's quite good. It does have some drawbacks. It's small sized and it's optimized mainly for CPU usage, uh, but it's pretty good. That's available open source that we can use. We'll be using that in this demo down the line. So next in line is speech to text. OpenAI released Whisper model as like open source model that was like launched in 2022, and it was widely like revolutionary. Uh, they almost everyone in the industry now adopts some version of Whisper's architecture, and you can easily fine tune them with small amount of data, and then it supports multilinguality, and it has different sizes of models, tiny, base, large. You can choose one of them for the trade-off you want to have between latency and accuracy. Deepgram, Assembly AI, and these are some of the companies that provide closed source solution. You can access them via API, like how you use ChatGPT or like GPT-4, GPT-5 models. So next in line is the intelligence part, right? LLM. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys don't need any introduction about LLMs, but this is where you get the intelligence, and you have other functionality like tool usage, memory management. With that you can choose to use or not, right? Because this is a very high latency sensitive uh, product, so you might want to disable tool usage, for example. And here, like I mentioned, you need to make that accuracy with a speed trade-off. And there are, of course, open source models like Llama and other models that you can take and fine tune or use it out of the box, or you can use API-based model. Nowadays, a lot of even the more powerful like companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, they support really fast models like Claude has Hayako, right? So even when you are using API with low latency, you'll be able to use it in your voice bot. The next in the pipeline is the text to speech part. This is where you convert a sentence generated by AI into speech. And this is much harder than it sounds, because you have to make it sound natural, and then you want to have emotional tone to it, and then you also want to stream it, right? You don't want the entire sentence, or like let's say the AI generates 6 7 sentence slowly, one token at a time. You don't want to wait till the end for the user to hear the audio, right? Whenever the first sentence is ready, you want to be able to convert that to speech and then stream it to the audio to the user right away, so they don't perceive the lag. And then as you get from more tokens from LLM, you want to subsequently convert that to speech and then stream it to the users, right? And Kokoro TTS, it's a funny name, but it's a really natural sounding uh, open source model that we have available. We'll use that. And Levan Labs, Cartesia, or some of other companies that provide us like API based solution. And again, a lot of these solutions are optimized for uh, real time streaming, right? So these are highly optimized models. And the la- and the last on the line I want to touch upon is safety and other aspects that will be only touching upon in our demos, uh, but these are super important. Like I mentioned, we are building voice bots for particular use cases, right? We want to build for, let's say, customer service bot, like we are going to do in this demo. And at that time, you want to classify if your response is rude, not, or like polite, or out of compliance with your policy. You want to be able to classify them really fast, right? And then you uh, won't be able to use LLMs every single time, right? You want to be able to use like BERT models, these super fast, much smaller models to be able to classify and then escalate, right? You want to say, hey, this is out of compliance, and then we are not like, can you ask a different question, something like that, right? So safety is super important. And then it also needs to follow the company's policy, right? We might have 1,000-page policy document. You won't be able to use that 1,000-page in your LLM call to generate response. One, because it's not efficient. It will be inaccurate if you do that. And two, it will take too much time to generate the output, and the user might just hang up, right? We'll get churn in our product. And memory management is super important. Let's say if a user is having 30-minute conversation, and if they are referring back to the something they touched upon in the starting of the conversation, right? So how do you memorize? You want to summarize the conversation, but at the same time, it shouldn't run on live, right? It shouldn't be synchronous job, because the user don't want to wait till you summarize it, right? It should be running in the background, and you want to be able to handle that seamlessly. So this is the basic pipeline. Next, let's go over our demo. For this, oh yeah, I forgot. Let's look at some of the metrics that you need to keep in mind when you're building this bot. A lot of people here, I'm pretty sure, want to build a product, right? Uh, so you need to keep this in mind. The first is latency, right? And the latency in this space is typically measured in terms of time to first audio response, right? After the user stopped speaking, how long does it take for them to hear back the first response from our AI bot, right? So that is measured in like milliseconds, because you want to make sure it is like less than 0.5 millisecond. Be optimizing across your stack, like both. You want to optimize your engineering aspect, as well as you want to optimize your AI models, inference, everything. And if it takes longer, typically you want to say, hey, can you hold on a second? I'm checking my policy document, like how our use like humans answer customer service calls. The next metric we might not see is word error rate, right? Because we are transcribing users' audio, and this is something that's super important. If you make a mistake, it affects the whole downstream tasks that we have. And then interruptibility. If a user interrupts, how quickly can you recognize that and then stop speaking? You don't want to talk over them and then have that confusion. And then conversation should feel natural. This is like a vague term, right? How do you even put a number to a naturalness is something difficult. So it's like more like a qualitative thing, but you can measure that with interruptibility and something like your emotion tone, your voice, bot, etc. And hallucination rate, of course, I'm pretty sure everyone knows here now by now, like how many incorrect answers do you do, how many out of compliance policy answers do you give. Same thing, like it's also related to groundedness. How grounded is your answer to your policy, right? Company's policy. And of course, the ultimate product success metric is the user drop off. Is the user happy with the call? Are they cutting off in between the call, etc.? And that's it for the metric. And the next, we'll go over the slightly more exciting part. We'll go over the code, and this code is available, publicly available. I just made it available, released it publicly for everyone to take, modify, and replicate. You can do that. Uh, I'll play audio because uh, usually demos are high risky things. So I just recorded it. Uh, yeah, let me start it. Okay. Um, we'll be using Olama in this work to serve language models for us for the voice bot demo. And you can install Olama with this command or something equivalent in the operating system of your choice. And we will start the Olama server now. And after you started, it's exposing its services in this port. And then we can use this command to prompt our prompter, let's say Llama 3.2 billion model, to tell us a joke. And this should make Olama first run the Llama 3.2 billion model, 3.23 billion model on our laptop, and then run inference on top of it. So the first time when you run it, it will take a while to do this. But the second time when we run this, since our Llama model is already running, it can do this much faster. All right. So we'll be using this to Olama running in our local machine to run LLMs for our voice bot. After Olama, let's look at simple voice bot. I've written a simple voice bot here using PipeCat, and you can install PipeCat Python dependencies here, and with PipeCat, this is the entry point. If you use the PipeCat's main runner.runs main, we don't need to get into the details of how it's orchestrated inside PipeCat in this for running a simple bot. So this, like I mentioned, this becomes the entry point, and if you can, let's look at the code here. I want to go over this code, and you can see that we are using WebRTC here. WebRTC is the technology that you use for using audio in your browsers, in your browser and mobile app. It also supports streaming. And if you are using a phone call agent, you will be using a telephony technology instead of WebRTC. So with WebRTC, we set audio input and output uh, to be enabled, and then we run our runbot function with WebRTC transport. And if you look at the function here, this is where we define the pipeline. And we start with speech to text model here, and we'll be using Whisper speech to text, and this wrapper is provided by WebRTC. And since Whisper is an open source model, if we mention the model name here, the type of model we want to use, a small, medium, large, Pipecat will download it and run inference on it for us. Let's look at the Whisper settings, and you can see here that we can set some of the things we might want to customize. The first one is, of course, the model we want to use. We can use different sizes and the compute type and the compute. Okay, it looks like you guys are not able to see what is in the screen. Let me see if I can open it in a different player and zoom in, or we can look at the code directly. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. So we'll be maybe just using the recording for just looking at the voice bots output. Now I'll just do it live. I'll go over the code live. Cool. I'll make the text much bigger and you guys can see it. So yeah, I made it a little bigger. Yeah. So Pipecat is this open source library that anyone can, you guys can download and use, right? And with Pipecat, Pipecat gives us this access to runner.main that lets us use a lot of their pipelining and other nice things I'll talk about. It's everything is very well defined that we can quickly build a voice bot without writing too much boilerplate code, right? So we start with this as being the entry point, and here if you see, we have defined WebRTC interface, and we have enabled audio input and audio output here, right? And then at the end of this, we run our runbot function. Yeah. I hope it's clear now. I made it really large. Yeah, maybe if not, you can follow along with the code in the GitHub, or we'll send the recording. Cool. Let's look at the runbot function. So if you take a look here, we have defined our Whisper model here. And these are all packages that are given to us by Pipecat, right? You can see Pipecat gives us Whisper model, Olama, everything we are using here. And we are setting this to a base model, but you can change this, right? And you can also, if you take a look at the function's definition, we can modify several parameters like no speech probability, language, and other compute type, etc., to optimize it, right? And this is quite powerful. We don't need to implement that. It's already done for us within Pipecat, within just one library for us. The second thing we are going to define here is how to aggregate, how to create this LLM context. Think of LLM context as this conversation history that happens between you and the LLM assistants, right? And and you can see that we are using in the conversation segmenter, we are using voice activity detection here that detects when a user stops speaking, when a user started speaking, and when did they interrupt the AI assistant, etc. And then we have a strategy here for detecting user turn, like I mentioned. It's using voice activity detection, and we have enabled interruptions, right? And yeah, like I mentioned in the whisper case, we have in line 80, you can see that we have other hyperparameters like audio idle time, filter timeout, and filter incomplete, user turns, etc. that you can enable. And similarly, in the LLM, as we aggregate this user history, like LLM assistant conversation history, we also have an option to automatically summarize the context that happens between user and LLM, right? Like I mentioned, this is when the conversation is quite large, then we can automatically summarize it in the backend using Pipecat's existing functionality. Once that is done, I have I played before how we set up the OpenLlama in our terminal, but I'm exposing that endpoint here, and then we'll use that endpoint with with our with Llama 3.2 billion model, 3 billion 3.2 version 3 billion model at this endpoint to get our LLM response. And and we are using this system prompt. This is a very simple system prompt here that says, hey, you are you're a helpful voice assistant agent, answer users requests concisely, etc. Nothing fancy here, right? Once we define the LLM, the next definition I have here is text to speech, right? And we are, like I mentioned in the presentation, we'll be using Kokoro TTS service, and we also can define different voices, like it has female voice, male voice, American accent, etc. that you can choose. We are using one of those here. What else? Yeah, this is the super important part. So whatever we defined above, it's called frame processor in Pipecat's terminology, right? And we'll be creating a pipeline. And when we create a pipeline, it's as simple as just adding these definitions in a sequence, and it handles all, like orchestrating all of these automatically for us, right? And the first in the pipeline is the transport.input. This comes from WebRTC. It collects and emits audio received from WebRTC. The second in the line is speech to text. It takes the WebRTC input we have, and then it adds transcription to it, right? Now it's not removing the audio. Audio is still there for any other frame processor we have downstream, but it adds to that frame a transcription frame, and we can add interim transcription frame, which is non-finalized transcript if you want to use that to save on latency, or you can. It also gives you final transcription, right? Then we have user aggregator. Like I mentioned, it consumes both audio and the transcription, and it looks at all these voice activity detection models like user started, user stopped, user interrupted events to create the transcription convert the transcription into user turned sentences, right? And we take and it creates this LLM context history for us, and we take that and then feed it to LLM, which convert the user request to LLM text frames tokens, right? And we get this LLM text frame tokens, and we straight away stream it to TTS service, right? And it streams it. It doesn't wait for the user to respond back. Sorry, the LLM to respond back completely. It streams the output to TTS service, and from that TTS service, again, it as the TTS service creates output audio files, we will provide that to the user, right? And we write straight to WebRTC, and the user can hear back uh, as our LLM is generating output. And then we finally have the assistant aggregator, which looks at which audio that we played back the user heard fully, right? Because we can interrupt in between. Not all text that we generated from our LLM will be heard by the user. So uh, we wait for that and then add that to our LLM context as assistant message, right? So this is our pipeline, and we created this pipeline, and we add this pipeline to pipeline task. We don't need to worry too much about how it works internally unless you are actually building the product. At the time you will definitely need to know that. And then we will enable metrics. Again, this is also provided by Pipecat for us, right? And here metrics mean latency. Like I mentioned, voice agents is all about latency. It will display latency for us automatically at each and every stage for us. And then, so we have defined the pipeline. Now we will define the greeting that the user will hear back when they first connect to our voice bot. The greeting is, "Thanks for reaching out. How can I help you?" It's a very simple static greeting, right? And then we have defined a task here with this pipeline that we defined, right? And this task provides us a list of handlers, right? When a client connects to our voice bot, this handler will be activated, and then once this is activated, we will execute this code. And what does this do, right? We will say that the assistant greeted us. We'll add that to the LLM context, and then we will queue this greeting to be played via our TTS model, right? And if you look at our pipeline here, this is where we have the TTS model. So we are saying our TTS, hey, play back this audio as soon as the user connects, and then add it to the LLM context. So this is what we do when the user connects. So right away, we are setting up the greeting message and then adding that to the LLM, right? And the next handler we are adding is again, like you don't need to do that. It happens automatically, but for your benefit, I have written it. So when the user disconnects, we want all the tasks to end gracefully, right? We don't want any memory leak, etc. So we just say task.cancel. And once all that is done, we just run the pipeline, right? So that's it for the pipeline. Let's go back to the audio file, and then I'll let that play, so you can look at what I'm showing there. Look at the voice bot in action. Let me scroll to the demo. Next time I'll do a better job of when I'm recording. It will be at a larger font size. Yeah. Okay, now that we have the simple bot, let's test it. Let's run it. And we'll run it in our terminal by running this command. UV is the Python virtual environment I'll be using. This, yeah, so we just run it with run our simple bot along with the transport WebRTC. And when we run it, we'll be getting a URL exposed to us, and let's open it. Now what you're seeing here is a default interface that Pipecat gives us, right? Of course, you can define your own UI on top of it, your own client on top of it, or you can connect it to your telephony services to mimic a phone call, to do a voice phone call agent as well. And now let's connect it. This is similar to like dialing your phone, right? We are connecting to our agent now.
Thanks for reaching out. How can I help you today?
Yeah. So once we connected, we are able to hear back our greeting message from our bot. Now let me interact with it. I want to book a restaurant appointment.
You have a reservation at a restaurant. Is that all taken care of, or did something change?
No, I mean I want to book a restaurant appointment.
I think there may be some confusion. You didn't tell me which restaurant you'd like to book an appointment for. Can you please tell me?
Yeah, I want to do a restaurant appointment at a Chinese hotel nearby called ABC Restaurant.
You're looking to book a restaurant appointment at the ABC restaurant in a nearby Chinese hotel.
Okay.
Let me just check what options are available, and I can give you some recommendations. Which type of cuisine are you in the mood for?
Okay, that is enough. Let's look at let's analyze the conversation we had so far. Now, it played back the greeting message, and then it did not do a good job of transcribing what I spoke, right? And in between here, when it was going to say this, I interrupted in between, so I did not hear back what it said. So that should be reflected in the LLM's context message as well. We can verify that. And yeah, let's verify that you in our terminal. I'm logging a lot of these things. Let's go to the starting and follow the conversation, right? It after it got connected, it generated TTS using Kokoro service, and this is the time it took to generate that. And this is the starting point, right? And the bot started speaking. We are logging all these events here, and we started speaking, right? So VAD detected that, and it transcribed our speech into restaurant appointment. This is done by Whisper, right? Whisper did this. We are using a very small Whisper model, so it's faster, but it produces more error. Let's correct that in the next iteration, right? So Whisper is making a lot of errors here, and then after the transcription, we send this to our Olama, right? We build this context, right? We are saying like the assistant said, "Thanks for reaching out," and we said restaurant appointment, and we are asking Olama to give a response based on the system prompt we initially uh, created, right? And Olama sent back as this response, which is which becomes the input to Kokoro TTS service. And Olama says, "Do you have a reservation at a restaurant? Is that all taken care of?" Right? And yeah, and this keeps happening. The conversation proceeds, right? And I want to show you the interruption when it happens. So you can see that the LLM context just keeps growing, right? This like a state of, it's like a state of this conversation so far, right? And let's find, yeah, you can see that the it's logging the interruptions here. And this, can you please tell me what restaurant we interrupted this? We did not hear this back, right? And let's see if it is omitted from the LLM context. So here it says, you have a reservation. I think there may be confusion, and it stops at appointment for, right? And it did not log the next sentence, which is good because we interrupted. The user did not hear this back. And yeah, let's look at some of the metrics here. And it shows I did not implement prompt token counting yet. With Kokoro, it shows that Kokoro is the most time-taking service here that we should be improving. If we are trying to improve this bot, it takes like 1.5 seconds. And Whisper, it varies, right? Most of the time it's around 400 milliseconds. And Olama, it's doing pretty good. It's near 150 milliseconds after it gets warmed up, right? Now, now that we have tested a simple bot, I think the next step is to improve it. Next, we'll look at a RAG setup, and then and then after that, we'll look at how to use the RAG in our advanced customer service bot. Okay, now you guys heard the audio. Let me show since you guys can't see it clearly, I'll talk about the RAG setup. So the bot that I want to create now is a customer service bot working for Hilton hotels, right? And this bot to make it easy for us to understand, I'm creating this bot just to answer Hilton Honors point system, right? A lot of these hotels have point systems that you can use, right? And these are the URLs where the policy lives in. So I built this simple web scrape file library to download all these files. And when I run this, it downloads all these files to data raw. And this is an example of the web scraped output that I got, right? You can see here it says sign in, join. It has all the text you see in the browser, along with the actual policy document here. Honest member can book rental car online, etc. Right? Then I built another simple script to remove these filler words like sign in, etc. And that gets stored in data processed folder. Let's look at that. So here you can see we removed all the sign in, etc. And you can do this manually as well, of course. Like if you're making this actual product for your company, you'll do this automatically, and then you will also verify it manually as well. Yeah, so we processed it and then removed all the filler words here. The next thing we want to build is we want to now build a RAG system, right, to retrieve from this policy whatever chunk that is relevant to the user's question, right? And yeah, so typically, if you are doing this, actually, I would recommend you to not build it from scratch like I have done here for you guys, but actually use a RAG library, open source RAG library that is available online. But for us to appreciate the simplicity or the crux of it, I built my own RAG library here, and it's very simple. So it's not smart, it's not efficient, or etc. Right? It's very straightforward. So the first thing I have defined here is the config, the chunk size, right? Why do we want to chunk it? Because a policy file can be quite large, right? And only maybe 2 sentences required from it to answer an user's question. So you don't want to, in that case, you don't want to load the entire file and put it in the LLM's context window to answer that question. That will be quite large. It will add to the latency, etc. Right? And the embedding model we'll be using this is called Nomic embedding embed text. And again, this model is available in OpenLlama. Since we have the server already running, we can reuse that for running one more model on top of it. So this OpenLlama server will run both Llama model as well as Nomic embed model together for us, right? What else? Yeah, so this is where I have defined not this one. Yeah, this is the function I have defined to chunk the text. It's a very simple function. I would not recommend you to implement it, but it just like chunks uh, based on number of words, etc. Right? But typically, if you're the open source libraries nowadays implement much smarter chunking methods, like it chunks at paragraph boundaries or sentence boundaries, etc. And it also often like uh, chunks where a topic changes as well, right? So that's like a much better thing that you would want to implement. And then we have a method to do embedding. Embedding is where I think most of you guys are probably aware of it. Embedding is where we convert our policy sentences into a set of numbers that communicate the meaning of the content in them. So if a user gives us a query, we can convert that to numbers as well, and then find the number that is closest to that, and that will give us potentially that will give us the answer to the user's question, because it's more similar to the user's question, right? And again, like you guys can see here that I'm getting the embedding I'm getting the response from our OLAMA URL, and then parsing it, and then normalizing it, and then storing it, and then returning it actually, but we'll eventually store it. So that's all this function does. And then we put together both of those functions we saw above in this build index function, right? So you don't want to, every time when the user asks a question, you don't want to embed the entire policy you have on your company, right? You want to uh, embed them and then store them already in your database, right? Here I have a very simple in-memory storage, which is just like it's not like a storage, it's just storing it as a variable in runtime. So first I go over all of the files I have, and then I chunk each of them, and embed all of them, and then store it in, think of this as like a database. I'm storing that in a database, right? So this is what build index does. And I have defined this interface here, get relevant policy, not really an interface, but a function. If you are used to Java or like other programming languages, this is like an interface. This is where all the request comes in, and the input will be a list of queries that we think will be useful to answer the user's question. And what we'll do here is we'll take the queries, and then we will embed the query using our OLAMA model. We are using this embed function we saw above, and then from our database we'll find uh, the top k chunks in our database that have highest similarity to the query embedding, right? And then we return the text of these queries with this function, right? And yeah, the last thing we do here is I just created a very simple script to test how this function is working. I'm running a query to check what chunks in my database is similar to buy points. Let's say the user question is about buy points, and I want four of the top four most similar one. And since I don't have the server running now, I'll play the audio file. Sorry, play the. Sorry. File here. We saw these already. Okay. It's useful to just pull this model now. So we do OLAMA pull nomic embed text model, and this is downloaded and is running in our OLAMA server, right? Now let's run our policy retrieval example function here. And you can see the example I have here. So when you run this function, this is like almost like a test. Think of it as like a sanity check, right? We want to get relevant policy chunks for this particular query. Let's say the user's query is, I want to buy points. And then we want to get top four most top four most similar chunks, which means it's like I want to know 4 chunks in my policy documents that is relevant to buying points. And then we are just printing them here. Let's run it. So I'm running this file here, and then it's running the Llama service here, building the index. Since it's the first time we are running, it's taking a little time. And then this is the output for the particular query that we use. Hilton Honors points, on shopping points. But you can see that it's not, okay. You can see that it's the chunk boundaries are not at the right position. Again, like we can improve these things as we implement more smarter ways of chunking. Or these are also implemented in several open source packages that you can easily use. So that's it. Now the chunks work. Now, okay, that should be enough for the second part of the demo. Maybe I'll pause for a brief moment here and take questions. Yeah, so PipeCat is a library in Python that you can use. And the IDE I am using here is called Cursor, but it's very similar to VS Code. You can use VS Code as well. And yeah, I will post the GitHub link in the chat when I have time, or if one of the moderators can do it. Yeah, the best way to learn programming is by practicing, guys. Like nowadays, don't rely too much on the code generation. I would like you can use AI assistant to generate code, but you'll have to completely understand your code, right? Cool. Let's look at the next part of the cool. Oh, okay. Yeah. So then the last one demo we are going to see is we'll use the RAG that we built and to build a more complex bot that is actually like a customer service bot, not a random bot we had before. So I copy pasted the way I developed this is I copy pasted the simple bot into this hotel CS bot file, and then I modified it. And I started by changing the system prompt. I'm saying here that, hey, you are a helpful voice assistant working for Hilton Honors. And then I'm saying like, don't make up any information, do not answer questions that are not related to hotel policies, etc. Now this is I'm in this demo, I'm only doing this in the system prompt, but you will need to do this when you're building the actual product. You will actually need to do this in several layers, not just in the system prompt, but also you would want to classify the user's message into harmful, not harmful, or relevant, irrelevant, as well as the LLM response, etc. You'll have more guardrails in place actually. And then I didn't mention this before, but when we connect to a AI agent in PipeCat, only after we connect, we actually load the models. So, and that's actually wasteful, right? So I defined a function here to warm up my cache by preloading the speech to text and Kokoro models, right? And then you can also, like if you're doing this you can also actually preload Ollama by triggering it with the fake command, right? Hey, load the model, or you can just pull it. And the next change I made here is switch to a larger Whisper model. So I'm using the large V3 turbo model. I think there is one more larger model that I'm not using here, but this is a larger model. And you can see here it says Whisper STT service MLX. And this is specifically optimized for the hardware I am using, which is Apple Silicon. And I didn't change anything in Kokoro TTS or Ollama here. And then I added a new frame processor here. This is a custom frame processor, right? Just to show how easy is it to add it. I added a new user turn consolidator turn processor. So what happens is when users speak slowly, right, they take pause in between. These are rendered in our LLM context as separate user turns. That is a little inefficient. It still works, but it's a little inefficient, right? So I'm just concatenating them into one user frame. And you can see that how we can define frame processor with PipeCat, right? This is a custom frame processor, and you need to implement this process frame function. So all I'm doing here is I'm getting the message from the context that we are building, and then I'm looking at that, and then looking at from the end how many user requests, user messages are there without that, like consecutively, right, without any assistant message, and then I'm merging all of them, and then I'm adding them back to the context, and then I'm pushing it downstream. I'm pushing it down for the next frame processor we have in the pipeline to process it. That's all we are doing here. It's quite simple, straightforward. And then I added a couple of debug frames here to see what exactly is happening. This is not super relevant to the demo, but this is just to point out that, I mean, this is where I developed this bot. So this is how I debug it, right? Like you print all the output, look at the logs, correct it, etc. Then I added a TTFA metric to understand what is my end-to-end latency. And this is my custom implementation. And you can look at the metrics here. This is almost the same structure. You have process frame function, right? And then we start measuring time from when the user stopped speaking till when they received a TTS audio frame. And that's how we are measuring it. And then we push it as a metrics frame, right? Cool. And the final frame that I added is called policy retrieval processor. And this is where I added the RAG. So I have done a couple of things here. One, I'm getting the message from the LLM context, and then I'm sending it to Ollama, then asking a faster Llama model, to tell me what query I should be using to search in my database, right? This is because the user might say, "Hey, I want to know about how to buy points," right? But later down the call, they might refer to that as it. I want to buy it, right? Now you can't just search in our database with it, right? It won't work well, right? So we are asking a fast LLM, to tell us what query to use to look up our database, right? And then we can look at the system prompt here. So what I'm saying here is you're a helpful assistant, and then you need to give me the queries in a list format that is relevant to answer the user's question. And if the user's question is not relevant to the policies, don't give me any query, because I'll be wasting time searching my database. I'm saying that return me an empty list. So going back here, so we get the LLM response. we pass it into a list, and if the list is not empty, we'll use that to retrieve the policy, the relevant policy chunks from our database. And then we take that policy and then inject it into the frame, into the context, LLM context we have. And then like before, yeah, just pushing it down the frame to answer the next question. And that's pretty much it. And the final change I did, of course, is say that thanks. Modified the greeting to say thanks for reaching out to Hilton Honors. Right. Now let's test it. Let's test all the new things we added, if it works properly. And to test, I'm going to again play the file I have. I've made a very simple book. So now I'm running the hotel CS bot here. In the bot now. So go to the bot and I'll connect to it.
Thanks for reaching out to Hilton Honors. How can I help you today?
You can see that even before we connected, actually, it loaded all the models, preloading all the models. Then once we connected, it's printing out the message we wanted to. Sorry. And then push. I accidentally scrolled it. Then once we connected, it's printing out the message we wanted to print. Let's test it. Can you book a appointment at a Chinese restaurant for me?
I'm not set up to book appointments at specific restaurants. I'm here to assist with your hotel stay and loyalty program questions. If you'd like, I can look up Chinese restaurants near your Hilton hotel, though. Would you like some recommendations based on what's available nearby?
No, I'm good. I want to ask you a question on Hilton points. How do I buy points?
To purchase additional Hilton Honors points, log into your account at Hilton Honors. Go to the Earn or Points section and select the Buy Points option. You'll need to pay with a credit card, and you can choose between various point options, such as 10, 000 to 500, 000 or more points in increments of 7, 500 from 125, 000 to 1, 250.
That's enough. You can see that it's still not optimal. It's not spelling out the words, numbers correctly. There's like, that's where you can improve them. Let's look at the log. So you can see here the LLMs. We are looking at seeing the LLM streams, right? And this is how you debug, like looking at the logs of intermediate outputs. And you can see here, this is the response. This is the queries that the model says we should be using to query our database. And this is the exact policy we retrieved, and we added that to our frame, sorry, LLM context frame. That's pretty much it. Cool. Yeah, let's go back to the slides. Yeah. I know a lot of people are asking where is the GitHub link. It's here. I'll just type it in the chat. com slash.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so please, we want people to go to the Discord server. We want them to get it on the Discord server. That's
Oh,
why.
got it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Uh, if Annie will post the slides along with recording and other files you need in the Discord. Please check that out and grow that as a community as well. And feel free to follow me in LinkedIn. Uh, the code is public. I won't take it off, so it's you don't have to worry. Yeah, it'll be cool. Like maybe I'll challenge you guys. Like take it. Like one of you guys can take it as a hackathon and then improve it further. I mentioned a lot of things that we need to improve. We can improve further. And again, I built all this in one day, guys. Like it's pretty easy to build with PipeCat, especially with AI assistants. Like it's really fast. You can like PipeCat already provides a lot of these things for us. Yeah, before going to the next slide, I'll maybe answer a couple of questions. Right, one question I thought you guys would know is what are the computational requirements? Yeah, this is maybe important. So some of these models you will be able to run it with 16 GB laptop, right? And for some of them, especially if you're like you can maybe use Google Colab or other like cloud providers, etc. To run your models. I'm using a powerful laptop here, but a lot of the like PipeCat, for example, not just can be used to run your models locally, right? You can integrate that with GPT or what is it, 11 labs, etc. So even if your laptop is not powerful enough, you can use API based models to build these bots, right? And it's actually much more powerful than what I can run locally, actually. So you'll end up getting much better results in both in terms of latency as well as in terms of accuracy, actually. So don't worry about that. So what are the tools we used so far? We used PipeCat library. We used Olama. PipeCat is the one that orchestrates voice cat agent. Orchestrates the tools we use for voice bot. And Olama is where we run our LLM or other deep learning models. Yes, this is a version of VS Code. This is a cursor. Yeah, cool. So I have one additional slide, actually. Yeah, one additional slide to talk about some of the future-facing things. So what we saw now is a pipeline, right? And you can think of it as like a more controllable version of VoiceBot, because we are doing these steps individually. We are transcribing, then we have a separate model for LLM, we have another model for TTS, and then we stream the audio, right? In between, in the LLM side, we can inject our own context to it. Now there are more faster models, right, that are multimodal. It takes voice as input and produce voice as output, right? It's much faster. It's probably the fastest model in terms of latency, and it also tend to perform more naturally because it can actually understand with what emotion a user is speaking, right? And but the con there is it's less controllable. You can't inject context to it easily or at all, and it's hard to debug, etc., right? And that's maybe a slightly intermediate approach uh, to this multimodal voice in voice out to what we saw today. uh, Actually, like one other thing that I would like to mention is that multimodal voice to voice transcription is not in production, right? Like very few companies have it. Like OpenAI has voice only voice mode that uses it, and not a lot of people use it because it's hard to customize. Now the hybrid architecture where I think the industry will go to is we get the voice, we transcribe it, we add more, we add like the RAG or like other context to it, and then we send it to a multimodal LLM, and it can take just the transcript as input or transcript plus voice as input, and then produce straight away the voice, the AI voice as output, not go through the text output, right? So this is where I think the industry will eventually converge to, because it's much faster as well. It's much faster, and it is controllable. That's it for today's talk. I can take question for the next maybe a few minutes, and then we can have my friend do the next speaker. I'm super excited for that. You guys should stay actually. Yeah, so the question is, what are the best places we can get these API models? Yeah, Hugging Face has API models. I mean, if you are willing to spend, then you can use OpenAI, OpenAI, 11 Labs. They give you access to all these models.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Aaron is here. Just wanted to let you know.
Awesome, Aaron. Let me I'll close the session, but let me just take one more minute, Aaron, to look at if there are any questions in the YouTube live. Yeah, I think that those are, I think I answered all the questions. Yeah, the video and the GitHub code will be available on the Discord. Awesome. I'll maybe give let me stop sharing first. And then, yeah. Cool. We have Aaron here, and Aaron is a close friend of mine. We work together briefly at my current company, and Aaron is like by far one of the most creative person I have met, and he's a UI designer, and he does a like bunch of things, guys. Like he will tell you about it. I hope, and yeah, I'll let Aaron take it from here.
Awesome. Can you hear me? Oh,
I
good.
can see you, Aaron.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for the intro, Sai. We're going to have a chance to talk about design, and hopefully it will spark some curiosity, and we'll both learn something. So I'm going to share my screen now and answer these dialogues here. All right. Okay. Okay, it seems to be sharing, I believe. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Aaron.
Not yet. Okay. All right. There we go.
It now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to title the talk "Designing in the Age of AI," and I'm going to cover a few things today. Let's go here next. I'm going to cover a little bit about me. Then we're going to dive into design in general, just what is it, uncovering the mystery. And then I'm going to share some experiments and then some thoughts around designing with AI. Does that sound okay? All right, let's move forward. So a little bit about me. So I'm Aaron. I'm a Brooklyn-based product designer. I help startups make products that people love, for the last 8 years, I've been helping teams translate data into strategic design that really brings delight into people's lives. So I'm really energized by the current climate and time that we're in. And I specialize in figuring out how to create new patterns of interaction between humans.
I think he went off for a bit. I'm sure he's probably going to come back soon.
Yeah, I texted Aaron. He'll be rejoining soon.
Yeah, definitely. So just wanted to add some context. So our second speaker should be back very, very soon. Apologies for what happened. The numbers we had on Zara yesterday were astronomical, and I think Zara hasn't recovered yet. So I guess we'll get that all together. Hi, Sumaya. Can you hear me, Sumaya?
Fine. Yeah, I
No.
can hear you. Am I audible?
Good, yeah. Just before the next speaker comes on board, something I noticed. Lots of you didn't post videos yesterday. So we're not really seeing your energy on social media, guys. Yeah, so we need you guys to like post videos. Like we told you, we're giving out $100 every single day. I think there are only 4 people that posted, so the numbers are not very encouraging. Please join the Discord server because like you get lots of information, and then when we yes. And when we have once we start the build, so we don't call it a hackathon here. We call it the build because as I said yesterday, the core of it is to build. If you notice, Sai was really talking about building, building, building. That's the theme. So when we start the build on Tuesday, yes, so everything is going to happen on Discord. And if there are any changes, like for instance, if Zara is too tired and Zara can't take the numbers, and we have to come to YouTube, you get the information there. So I don't know if you have any questions. Let's see if there are any questions.
Also, a quick question.
Yeah.
I want to know how many of our participants has got their certificate for yesterday's session.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
So, yeah, let's see on the chat how many of you have got your certificate. How was the quiz? How did you do?
Yes, and I hope again for some of you, if you don't get up to 70%, you're not going to get your certificate. That's just something to I think the chat is also lagging. That's something that I wanted to mention to me. So they're a few seconds behind us. I think just a few seconds behind
Okay.
us.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you got I think up to 70, you should get your certificate. So tell me, how are the questions? So I hear you, Ibsa, about the link. So size LinkedIn, I'll send that across, and also Mr. Colazon. Yeah. So how are the questions yesterday? So now, Harris, please reach out on Discord and we can fix that. Okay, Betel, you attended. Try, take the test. How was the test? Was it hard? Or it wasn't meant to be hard, but like, did it make you think? That was just that was the core of it. There were some questions that when I said the questions myself, I was like, I was in between. So there's no certificate for today. Hey, Hype Man got 29/30. That's AI. He definitely needs AI, 100%. I don't think it's possible for you to get 97%. Lovely. So the idea was that it was really meant to, yes, what you learned from the talk. I think we're gonna have another. I'm not sure if maybe we might have another quiz that will maybe bring everything today. I don't know. Should we do that? Maybe we'll probably do that. Um,
I think we need to do that.
oh yeah, fine. That's going to be a lot harder because it's going to combine all the talks we've had. Um, yeah, so it's probably going to be more than 30 questions, and it will not be as easy. But I know many people here might use AI. Eh, okay, additional 24. At least it's good to see no one got 30. So that's good. That's encouraging. That's because that would have been very deflating. Yeah, so Harris, as I said, we're going to reach out on Discord to any of the moderators. They will guide you. So Esther says the questions was quite easy. That's interesting. Rita Davis, you just need to go to Zara to take the test. So yes, if you need to go to Zara to take the test, if you go to Zara, go and look at the live sessions, the ones that the previous live sessions, yesterday's. Okay, Camby got 30. Wow, that is Camby. How did you do it? Camby Space, how did you get 30?
A
You
huge
want
clap.
Yes, so Ipsa, I see your question. If you miss a session, just go on Zara. The recording, yes, sadly, it wasn't my part. A lot of my part was not there. But the questions are still there for you to access. Let me see if we can. Let me try and reach out to our speaker. Yes, Mary, I don't know if you like to.
Okay, so how went the session so far? As already mentioned, all of the materials will be shared on Discord. You can even ask questions on Discord. We will do our best to get back to you. All the resource and also the recording of the session is going to be available on YouTube as well. You can also discover our YouTube. There are a lot of sessions from our last we had an event on January, so the live session is already available. Okay, I think Aaron is back.
Yeah, Aaron's back.
Yeah, good.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. It must have dropped. Ooh.
So you
Where
literally we lost you at the very beginning, the very first
really?
time. Yes.
Oh, no way. Okay.
So you were talking.
I was
sorry
talking
about
to myself.
Oh, sorry. Oh wow. Whoa.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So sorry. Okay, so where should we start off? Okay, so this is what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to cover a little bit about me, going into design and experiments, and then what is it to design with AI now. Does that sound okay to everyone? Okay, awesome. Let's try this again. I'll keep an eye on my phone in case I drop again. All right, so a little bit about me. I'm Aaron. I'm a Brooklyn-based product designer. I help startups make products that people like to use and eventually love. For the last 8 years, I've helped teams translate difficult challenges into very strategic design. So what I love to do is stay on top of what's going on and work on novel problems. So that's what I love to specialize in. I wouldn't be here talking to you about design if it wasn't for this blue iMac that I came across early in my school years and fell in love with it. I was obsessed. I wanted to figure out who made this. This is the most coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I want to figure out who did this. I want to learn how to be like them. And so that sent me off on a journey to answer the question, what is design? Along that journey, I've been hunting for books and knowledge. I love finding books that are no longer in print. I like going to museums to take a look at what the best things that people have done. What are they and how did they do it and what's the history? I love doing that. And I also, when I'm away from my computer, I love to go into nature and learn from nature, because there's so much to learn about design in nature. Here's a quick look at the kinds of tools that I use today. So for knowledge, I take down notes in my Notes app, an Obsidian. I like to keep track of things in that. For prompt engineering, of course, I use ChatGPT or Claude, Gemini. I like to play with different tools to see what their strengths and their weaknesses are. This is an illustration I made of Claude Code, as I imagine Claude serving code in a silver platter. So let's talk about design. Before we get into the design plus AI and the experiments, I kind of want to set a foundational layer for what design even is. A lot of people think that design is how things look, and that is only partially true. It is a lot more than that. And when you just reduce the idea of design to what meets the eye, you lose so much of what makes great design great. So the difference between a design mindset and a non-design mindset is that there's this bias to action. If you don't know, you go and you find out, and you discover and try to get as much information about the world or about the challenge that you have to do something about it. But there are so many branches of design. There's visual design, there's UX design, there's industrial design. There's so many different types of design. And the idea behind all of these different disciplines is that designers are trying to impose or bring about meaningful order to an otherwise chaotic scenario or situation or problem. This is the letter A, and it is shown in a construction. And this is kind of how designers see the world. We see the world as relationships and proportional relationships. This is kind of like the X-ray vision that we're afforded when we start to pay attention to the way things are made. And we as humans are very unique in that we can influence our environment, and we can add beauty and proportion and just intention to the things that we make. This is a diagram, design sketch of a facade. And I really love looking at things like this because it shows how intention and proportion can come together to make something beautiful. These are some diagrams, and I think they're such a good example of how I see things in the world and how I think about things. So it's not just the thing itself, but how it is created. How is it composed? How is it made? I like to pay attention to packaging and illustrations. I see design everywhere, like the packaging on this package of sardines, which are so creative and so fun. I saw this at the store the other day. And I also love digging for books that show design in different ways, like this guide on gardening, which shows different ways of designing trees around the city of Mexico. I like to pick up leaves sometimes and observe them and learn from nature in this way. This is an example of a book plate from a rare book from 1919, actually, that also has design. This is a meme that I made. Everyone around you is sometimes very kind of going about their day, and
like our speaker crashed. Let me try and ring him.
Yeah, please call him.
Yes, so I'm working that.
Okay. So sorry about the interruptions. Till our speakers, till our speaker come back, we can engage on the chat. Okay, anyone who have question, you can drop it on the chat, comment. So far,
Okay, he's coming back. He's coming back soon.
okay.
Okay, but yeah, you can continue engaging till he comes.
Okay. Okay, something I would love to do now is to see who is from where. So let's start by dropping our countries. Let's see who is from where.
He's back. He's back.
Okay.
I changed my camera to see if this works a bit better.
Okay.
All right. Are we back?
So I think you were the slide before this.
Okay.
Let's see. You've not gone back. You've not gone back yet. Yes, this was it. Yeah.
Okay.
You explained the why.
All right.
Interesting.
Okay, so sorry about that. I changed my camera. Hopefully the bandwidth is a bit better here. Let's see. So yeah, I was just covering that. It's good to ask why. Why are things the way they are, and can we make them better? And here's a diagram of the design process. It's not linear. It's very moving around different sections, like trying to understand what the problem is, making a prototype, making it real, trying it, learning from it, and then going onward. So you kind of start in this area of nebulous ideas, and then you sort of start to end at a concept that you can try out. And as a designer, you're constantly looking at details around the world, like these beautiful numbers in Mexico City that are the addresses to places. This is a animation that I made for an interaction that I wanted to prototype. So you find creative ways of showcasing ideas in any medium that you can. This is a really cool book on drawing, which is another form of, it's actually the foundational form of thinking about design, is communicating your ideas with drawings. This is a really great quote that I found on the internet, and I love it because it's so true. It's very important to do your research and try things, and once you've done some experiments, you'll know what you need to do. The curiosity continues. Here is an exploded view of Pinocchio from the Guillermo del Toro's film Pinocchio, and these are all the little components that make up this puppet. I also love, I enjoy playing with typography, and here I'm playing with the letter A. And as you can see, a lot of this is visual design. It's playing with relationships and proportions. One of my favorite apps is Procreate, because the user experience is so tight. It allows you to just come in and draw, and that's it. When you start using Procreate, you're able to just immerse yourself in drawing. It's a drawing app that does a little bit more, but the interface is so, I love using this as an example of great design because it just gets out of the way. Good design is nearly invincible. I said invincible, invisible. That's what I mean. It's invisible. It gets out of your way, and that's what good design does. This is another app that I really enjoy called Transit, and it helps you understand where you are in terms of traveling in the city of New York. It tells you the train times, and I like using this as a good example of good design and also good training because it allows you to participate in the app's prediction models. So you can say things like this train ride was good at this hour, and so the app just keeps getting better. But I love the way that the visual design helps you guides you through the interface quite nicely. So big numbers, big type, and the color is serving a purpose. I think this is a really good example of great mobile design. These are some sketches that I made during my time working on clinical products in AI. And these are some of the ideas that I had during conversations. So many of the times I'll work with engineers and other designers, and we'll sit down and we'll have conversations that spark new ideas, and it'll be great to just sketch and put them down on paper. And that's a very important part of my process, is drawing things and communicating to myself what the idea is. So it's very important to hone that ability. Even if your drawings are very simple, it's very important to have drawings that will communicate ideas for your records and also to communicate with your colleagues. I'm always looking for design in my walks. I like to look at buildings and the way typography is set up. This is an amazing book that I would recommend to anyone here today. And it's important for a number of reasons, but one of them being that it helps you think about the challenges that you have as ways, as prompts to create really interesting things, really interesting solutions. It turns your limitations into your special sauce. This is a bookmark that I'm currently working on. It's a bookmark, but it's also a lamp. And the idea here really is an attempt to solve a problem that I noticed that I had, where I didn't want to turn on the big light while I was reading at night, but I also didn't want to have to have a really giant light, next to me. So this did solve that problem, and I'm still trying to refine it. This is a quote from Johnny Ive, an industrial designer, the industrial designer who actually worked on the blue iMac that I showed before. And I love the sentiment here because it's exactly what this whole thing is about. It's about relationships and working on things with people, amazing people like Sai mentioned earlier. We had a chance to work together, and it's so energizing to work with people like Sai to tackle problems, and it really brings up really great ideas. This is another quote that I picked up from a book on design, which is, try to aim to have things in your home that are useful and beautiful. And I think this is a very great idea in the sense that it's not about luxury, it's about the way things are made. If you buy a piece of furniture or some small object that was made with love and intention and craft, then when you bring it into your home, it signals to you that beauty and that story. And so it's good to bring things into your world that are made with love. This is an example of a digital app for the iPhone called Flighty that I really think is cool because it turned data that's sitting in your email from trips in the past into something that's like very cool that people will pay for, which is a digital passport that shows the distance that you've flown or the flights that you've had, the places that you've visited around the world. This is a still from the show Severance, and I really love sci-fi interfaces because they have almost no constraints and you can just do whatever, and it's just really cool. It's all to serve the story. And I think watching for design in films is really exciting because it usually predicts what's going to happen in the future. This is a book that I highly recommend as well. It's Designing for How People Think. And the idea here is that you want to think about the way that a person that's using something you're making, how are they engaging with it? What parts of their mind are being activated? So you have to be mindful about language. Are you using the same language that they expect to read or to hear? Where is their attention going? How are you appealing to their emotions? And how are you helping them navigate your product? So this is very important because as designers, we want to be good hosts. If we're building products for people, we want to make sure that we're taking good care of them and that they know that what we're giving them has been made with intention. This is a quote that I took from Jack Dorsey and I visualized it. And I think it's really important because at the root of it, I think culture and art and our relationships to each other are what informs really good design. And that's really what pushes the boundaries of things that are being made. This is an illustration that I made of a mocha pot, and I included it because it's such a great, classic, simple, and durable design. I actually heard, I'm not sure if this is true, I need to actually verify, but if it is true, it's pretty crazy that the person who invented this was cremated and buried in one of these. So he was so proud of the design that he was just like, yep, I'm gonna go into eternity in my design. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So that was design. And now let's talk a little bit about experiments. And I'm not sure how we're doing here with time. We had a bit of a drop, so if I'm gonna go.
No, you're good, Aaron. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here is an example of myself modeling a light switch cover, and I'm using Fusion here. And what's really cool is that this program now has Claude integration, so you can go and prompt 3D models. I'm able to 3D model because of my training as an industrial designer, but now people without industrial design training or CAD modeling skills can go into Fusion 360 and start to prompt, and they can make things, and that's awesome. That's the world that we're living in. Here's an example of the print installed on the light switch. As I mentioned before, drawing is really a way to communicate, and it has such a useful purpose in the design process, but it's also really fun to do just to take time off the screen. And I think that's really important, to spend time with paper and your thoughts. This is an example of a mood board that I made for a client. And the purpose of this mood board is to try to capture a feeling. Because when you're using a product, when you're designing a product, you're also designing a feeling around that product. And most people are not going to be aware of that. But as designers, we have to be aware of that. We have to be aware of the kinds of feelings that we are evoking. So this is a tool that we use, a mood board, to create a target of where we're aiming. And this is very useful in the process. And it's important to have fun. This is an experiment that I made with Claude Code, where I created a LinkedIn for dogs, and it's called Leashton. And I just tried to imagine what our pets would post on LinkedIn if they were on LinkedIn. And so the profile is of my dog Noguchi. I'm also just like super fascinated by how design and AI can come together in a physical way. And so this is a display that I made to show me upcoming events or things on my calendar. And it's using an Arduino that is running C++, that I used with Claude to create a script to fetch Google, the Google Calendar from the Google Calendar API and display it on this very tiny little screen on my desktop. One of the experiments that I'm running also is a way to visualize your to-dos in the form of plants. So think about it as your projects. As you're completing them, wouldn't it be cool if they grew into plants? This is another experiment that I started off with. On the very left side, you'll start to see the first iteration of this idea, which was, can I create a guitar tuner that's really cool and uses particles? So this is an app that would help you tune your guitar. So the first one, the first demo is really rough. It's just an idea. And I used Claude to generate some of the code here for the particles, right? And so here you're seeing it move, and that is me tuning my guitar. And then I iterated and started to add notes here. And you can start to see the progression. So a lot of my ideas start off as sketches, as just simple intuitions, and they evolve, and I iterate on top of them to create what you see here. And this is one of the iterations that I had. And one of the challenges here is getting the visualization to actually be helpful to musicians. And there is a lot of failure that goes into experimentation. And it should not, even though it can be very disheartening at the time when you don't quite get it, turning around your thoughts to really see it as a way, another way to discover. And so this is a design that I made for a time-lapse app that I really wanted to exist so that I could record time lapses of myself doing work. And it took me quite a while to get this effect down, but I'm so glad that I stuck it through because I really enjoyed the outcome. and it's very fun. As you can see here, it's very elastic and it's kind of gooey, and it brings that fun nature into interface. This is a time lapse of me using the app to create the icon. I've also created a gallery that is inspired by the Viewmaster. And inside this gallery are some of my food illustrations that I like to do every now and then. What's really cool about this is that 5 or 6 years ago, I would have needed another engineer to help me out with this. But now with Claude Code and all of the different models out there that have agentic coding abilities, you can amplify what you're able to do in so many different ways. And this is an example of being able to collaborate with AI to create things that have not been seen before. This is another sketch of an icon for my guitar tuner that I made. And the reason I'm sharing these sketches is because it's important to note the small intuitions that you have around your ideas. And it might not seem like much, but with some iteration, with some polishing, you can really bring it to life. And this is the evolution of that icon, going from a tuning peg to something a bit more approachable, like a guitar pick. This is a short animation that I made, stop motion, with apples. It's called A Chorus of Feeling. And I'm including this quickly because I used Claude to come up with the title, and I used Claude as a co-producer in the making of this short film. So I'll play it for you just now. Okay, so that was the stop motion animation. This is an example of a different way to collaborate with AI. I made this all entirely myself. The idea was mine. However, in the process of making it and creating it, I consulted Claude with ideas. So it became kind of like a partnership where Claude was inserting some ideas like, hey, why don't you call it this? Or why don't you give it a different feel with the color, etc. So that's a really cool way of collaborating. This is another example of how the Sputnik app works. And this is a simple app that does one thing, and that is record time lapses of you working. And I want to highlight it because it's a tool that's just for me. And I've put it on TestFlight so people can download it and use it, but I created it to solve my own problem. And I think that's a really good way to approach making things. Try to make the things that you really wish existed, and that will help you navigate the challenges that come from making things. This is another app that I'm working on that helps you keep tabs on the relationships around you that you want to cultivate. And the idea is that I want to be able to use technology to bring me closer to those around me. This is another experiment that I'm working on where you're able to scan your records and take them on your phone anywhere you go. And this is really cool because it allows me to combine my love of music and history, as well as creating a conversation piece that allows me to connect with others through music. This is an AI demo that I want to share with you with an AI voice agent. And the idea here is that I wanted to explore what it's like to allow an AI to change the interface around a specific app. In this case, it's a to-do list app that has AI integration. So I'm going to share a quick demo here. Cool. So here it's proposing some of these ideas, and it took a very unstructured input and very vague input, and it converted it into a list of tasks that I can now decide whether I want to accept or not and get started on the project that I'm working on. So this is really a simple but exciting look into how these voice agents can help us navigate our interfaces. This is a rough prototype of essentially looking for a different way to interact with time in your calendar. This is actually a screenshot. I thought it was a video, but it's a screenshot. But the idea is, can we work with calendars in a different way that can help us with spatial relationships? This is from a shop in New York that carries a lot of vintage equipment. And I think it's really cool because it shows all these different designs for TVs and amplifiers. They all have their physical buttons, and some of them do the same thing, others do different things. And this is a really cool kind of tactile way of interfacing with design. So those were my experiments and some ideas. The next thing I want to talk to you about is kind of the whole idea around this talk, which is, what does it mean to design with AI in the age of AI? To give you some context, I've been in the AI world for about 7 years. I started off working in the medical field around provider software. And back in the day, which feels like a long time ago, most of the design work happened in Figma, as well as, Google Docs, conversations. And that world is rapidly changing. Now, with tools like V0, Claude Code, Replit, or you name it, Claude Design, there are different approaches to designing products. This is Claude Design. And Claude Design is really interesting because it takes a different approach than Figma. It guides you through the design process in a way and presents to you designs that you might consider. This is a sample of myself kind of collaborating with Claude Design to get some ideas around a screen that I'm working on with with an app. And I'm going to take you through kind of what it produced. It's very rough, okay? You can see the designs that Claude produced are interesting, but they're not entirely shippable yet. But what's cool is that Claude created this in like 5 minutes or something. And previously, it would have taken me some time to get into Figma and rearrange everything and create all these screens. It would have taken me some time. So it's really interesting to see tools that are capable of generating designs, even if those designs aren't quite ready yet or actually any good. I think it gives us a hint and a preview of where these tools are going and how exciting it's going to be when they get a lot better. Here's an example of how I used ChatGPT to take an idea that I had and improve on it. I gave it an icon that I had made, and I said, redesign this icon to have a particle cloud of dots or reading it. Don't deviate from the design. And then it created this, which is pretty bad, but hey, it's a good idea. It's just very rough. Note that my input was a bit not that specific and not that great as well. So I said, no, stay within the design of the icon itself. And it did. It started to, do what it needed to do, but it's not quite there yet. Okay, so my third prompt, I was really specific. I said, explore other particle designs centered around the center shape. And then I go into more specifications. And I really liked the first option that it gave me. But it's not an icon ready to ship. So that is still up to me to take it across into the finish line. And so I took that idea and then brought it into Icon Composer and created the final outcome. So thank you so much for your attention and your time. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask away.
Thank you, Aaron. There are lots of questions. I have so many questions, but I'm gonna try and I don't want to be selfish. Or let's go to chat first. Oh, there was a question I saw. I think someone mentioned, what is the difference between good design and drawing? I think, yeah, that was a question. And I saw that and I was like, yeah, I need to ask that question.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Okay, so I think someone asked, what is the difference between, what is the most distinctive feature between design and drawing?
Design and drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so drawing is design in that you're organizing shapes to communicate whatever it is, and design in digital product design doesn't always require that. You can essentially map out what you're designing in Figma, let's say. And the thing that's really important is proportion. It's hierarchy. It's organization. Because if someone comes to your product and it's the first time they're seeing it, you as the builder, you need to determine what is the most important thing that they need to know right now. So the way I would think about it is, when you're a good host and someone comes to visit you and you're anticipating their needs, and you're showing them what they need to, where they can sit down, where the restroom is, etc. So that's what your product, that's what good design does. It anticipates your needs, and it does this through visual hierarchy and really good, just beautiful interactions.
Thank you. Please, guys, please put your questions in chat. So someone asked the question, to make good design, must it be code-based?
To make good design, must it be code-based?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. What I'm understanding is that you want to know if you need to go directly into code to do good design.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Okay. Now you can, because code is gotten a lot cheaper, so you can try out a lot of different things and play with them, versus a static design, which doesn't move, it doesn't interact, it's just an image of a design. However, it is important to think about what you're aiming to solve, what the problem is before going into code, because imagine that you're building a building, right? Imagine if you show up to the building site and you have all the workers there and you're like, okay, I have an idea for this building here, like here's a I think it needs to do this, and you're hand waving, right? That's not effective. What's effective is having an idea, drawing it or mapping it, however it is that you do that, and then bringing that into the AI to start executing the code. And that can be very, very helpful. But you need to start off with a solid thought and a solid vision for what that version can be.
Lovely, lovely. I think this next question might be, I think you answered a bit of it, but I'll just ask. So the person asked, what's your process? What's your step-by-step process to making a design? Like, how do you
Yes.
start? What's your process like?
Okay, yes. So I will share kind of a map here. This is kind of like, I don't know what the question is. I don't know what the problem is yet. I think I know what the problem is, and I need to go and research. Either I need to go and ask questions, and or I need to read a book about this. For example, I didn't know much about shaders or even how to integrate an LLM into a software that I was working on. And there's a lot of questions that need to be asked around this time. But then once you kind of start getting an idea, you start to draw or you start to map it out. You can use any tool like Google Slides, Figma, whatever it is, a pen and paper, a whiteboard, whatever it is. And then you start to try it out, and then eventually you get to the result. And here in this process, I'm using Google Slides, Figma, I'm using Claude Code, I'm using ChatGPT, and that's helping me evolve things until I get something that I can play with and I can test. So it starts with questions, and then those questions get more refined, and then you end up with something that you can play with. Does that help? I can go into more specific with tooling, but I think those are general tools that I'm constantly using. So
that leads us
here's
to- yeah, okay. Just I wanted to mention, so Aaron, how much more time can you spare? Because-
I have like 10 more minutes if that's helpful.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Just wanted to let the audience know. So just before you answer the question, people just asked what tools you use, because the videos you're making They were just like, okay, how are you doing this? I know you want to go into that, but also it's something I think is very obvious. Or it's a problem I think I've seen a lot in Africa where, there's this black box when it comes to AI generated design. People don't know how to, we always see, but we don't know how to, like, they always want to know what tools did you use. So if you could run this, and yeah, I'm probably going to ask you for your slides. Maybe you could also put that down, later. I just wanted to
Oh,
mention.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what the tools that I use, I'm sharing them here as far as like the videos that I make. That app is called Screen Studio. That's a really good app to do demos in. And the way I'm understanding the question is, most people, when they see AI generated design, they're like, whoa, that's really cool. How did you do that?
Yes.
Okay, so the truth is, it's a lot of iteration over time, because the AI is, think about it as if you had an expert in the room around code, but this expert has, if you don't ask it for the right thing, it will not do it for you. Right? It's like it's almost like you're casting a magic spell in or whispering into it over time. And I think what's really important is to share this knowledge, which is, you will not be able to prompt an AI and one shot any of the designs that I just shared with you. It's nearly impossible, at least for me. And that being said, the most important thing that you can do is give as much context to the LLM as possible. And I'll tell you what that context is. You want to follow the same rules that you would follow in an organization when you're collaborating with engineers or project managers or leadership. You want to tell the AI what this thing that you're trying to build is in one page. You want to give it the tech stack that you're looking to build with. You're giving it what screens you're aiming to build, and to ask it to give you a plan of action. So with these documents, you're able to get to a V1 of the thing that you're aiming to build, and you're gradually building on top of things. Like, let me give you an example here. When I was creating this guitar tuner, I'm using shaders to create these particles in iOS. Okay. This requires an understanding of the framework that Apple has for shaders. It requires audio, parsing, and a number of other sort of ideas. And so you're not going to get to this without this first. Okay. So it's really thinking about digital products like building a house. You need to have the foundation. You need to lay, like, brick by brick, build each room, decide how many rooms you're going to have, and then build with that process in mind. We need to kind of move away from the idea of one-shotting things, and instead think about iterating over time. And that's how you refine things. That's where the design is. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I think I have a we have about 4 minutes. I have two questions. So I'm gonna come from, like they say AI is the new, you literally have like solo founders, companies, and I'm seeing this trend a lot more. Um, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've noticed that, lots of non-designers, non-technical people, AI is giving them the hands. Like I can design on my own. Um, so my question to you is, why do I still need a designer if AI can design? Like
Oh,
I know you indirectly answered this question, but I want you to,
yeah.
sort of
I think
promote.
I have a similar question, Aaron, and maybe I'll add mine to Ifani's. So, now we see all the time in Twitter and LinkedIn that people say, hey, someone pushed a code written by AI into prod and it's breaking everything. Or so that is happening. And then
Yeah.
software engineers are using AI, they are getting, I don't know, lazy, they are writing bad code, they forget good code, like these side effects, right? Like what does that look like if everyone what does that how do you see that in your world, right? What can
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
lead to, where can things go if people just use AI for design without too much thought into it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think there's like two questions in that, and I think what the first one is why do you need a designer in the age of AI? And the
Yeah.
other is what's the equivalent of design slop for designers? Or what's the consequences of that? Um, the first one is I think that human designers, are able to feel empathy and pain. And that is a very important uh, link to the user or the person that we're designing for. And you need to have a person that understands not only your business and you can collaborate with them and they bring in a strong point of view. The AI will always say your idea is great, go for that, that's awesome. But a human designer will say, I don't know about that, let me challenge you on that. Or what if we reframe it this way? And you need that in order to frame the right problem. Because if you just come up with the right solution to the wrong problem, then you're messed up. You've kind of gone down the wrong path. And a human designer that is courageous is going to say, let's slow down a bit. Let's think about it this way, and let's walk through it. So that's why it's important to still have a great human designer, because they are going to rally the troops. They're going to bring people together to have a conversation and collaborate together. AI still is not so good at maybe bringing the room together and like having collaboration happen. So that's the first question. The second is, what's the consequences of design slop? Good design is really hard. It's really, really hard to get like good design, and then to get great design is it's even tougher. And so the consequences of going into Claude Design, or whatever V0, whatever design tool you find, and creating a product that you vibe designed, um, it's if you're able to do it, then so is someone else, and you're basically generating something that has probably is going to look decent, but it's not going to work. And so this is the danger of thinking that design is just how things look. No, design is how things work, and design is how things solve the right problem for people. And so the consequences of design slop is that A, it's going to look generic. B, someone else can come and vibe code it or vibe design it also. And then 3, it's missing the sauce. It's missing that special human touch. Let's say if you're a robot and you don't know how to experience pain, then you don't know how to design a doorknob that is accessible to people with arthritis or with disabilities, right? So, you know, they still haven't gotten that good yet. But who knows? You know, in the future, with enough training, maybe they will, and we will be able as designers to be orchestrators of agents as well, which is kind of what's happening now with agentic coding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Aaron.
Yeah.
This has been lovely, absolutely lovely. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
I think we're already 2 minutes behind time.
It's okay.
Ty, do you want to say a few things before?
This was actually very enlightening, and Aaron, we had, I think, maybe a dozen, uh, like a long time spanning, like brainstorming sessions when we work together.
Yeah.
And it's always super interesting for me because we both have very contrasting style of working. Uh, and I have a very engineering first, like thought process, and Aaron's is like very like how do you use that? It's like that approach, and I hope you guys saw a piece of that, and and another thing, I mean, I want to point out is that, like I mentioned, Aaron is like one of the. I have worked with a lot of other designers, and Aaron is like in the top of the chart there in terms of creativity, in terms of passion for things that are building. So if you can maybe take something away from Aaron, then you guys are uh, like hitting the
Thank you.
top, not the AI design slop. So, so I hope you guys took away something from this one,
Thank you.
from this coding session from Aaron.
Yeah. So our last thing I just wanted to say, I think one thing is obvious. There's a clear demand from people in chat. And everyone is, how do we do this? How do you do that? Again, I'll probably message you privately, but maybe if it's possible, you can maybe come up with a curriculum or a course or something. And this is something we can discuss later, because there are lots of people in Africa. I can say this, that they do want to. There are lots. I've had so many questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this?
Yeah.
There is that demand. Because not
Yeah.
everyone likes to write code. I think there are more people that like to design. Than people that want to write code. So yeah, thank you. And yeah, I can see you put your socials, Twitter, YouTube, and your website. Please, you guys follow Aaron. For those of you who are going to watch this video after, please do follow him on his socials. And
Aaron also shares a lot of his content in social media, and I have also taken the liberty of volunteering Aaron for future talks. So you
lovely.
see him a lot more.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you so much for your time. And of course, if anyone has any questions, I love sharing about design, and I know it's there's a lot of advice out there. There's a lot of information out there, and it's a little overwhelming, I think, at some times. And I think the biggest piece that I would of advice that I would give anyone who wants to get started is really just to get started, and to lead with love, love with what you're working on, and try to just make the world a better place for those around you. And when you're motivated by that, you're able to really get into people's like really feel what is necessary to bring into the world. And I think there's we need a lot of help around design. So we need good people making great things for other people. And thank you so much for your attention and for allowing me to share.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. So just wanted to make some few announcements to people in the chat before we end. Bye. All right. For those of you who, a few things I wanted to say. Firstly, Rita. Yeah, I wanted to mention this. So yesterday, I think someone hinted that is the class just a theoretical one? I want you to understand something. There is a process to the way we do things. If you do not understand the underlying theoretical side of things, you're going to struggle. Sorry, please postpone the program and arrange everything and make all the people participate. If the program continues like this, it will be a wastage of time. Robertus, please could you expand on that? So Rita, we're taking you step by step because first of all, size demo. I don't know if you understood half, if you understood 20, if you understood 50%. You're not going to get it in one day, something that you're going to take time to do. Every day, there's going to be something you're learning. Today, you learned about how to build like it no, a calling agent. I don't know how many of you have ever done that before. You learned about principles of design. I picked up a lot personally from this. Tomorrow you're going to learn about modeling. The next day you're going to learn about vibe coding. The idea is that you're not meant to pick everything here on the call. It is not possible. It is not possible for you to pick everything on the call. Even if we took 6 weeks to do this, it's not going to be possible. That's why you're going to pick bits and pieces. Then we don't like, please don't use the word hackathon. I don't like that word. We don't use that word here. It's called the build. It's going to be an 8-week sprint where the things you picked up, you're going to have 8 weeks to build. You're picking up many things. The idea is all the things you're learning, you're going to now integrate into building a product. That is the idea of it. It's a step-by-step process because it's not possible for you to learn everything in one day. Tomorrow you're going to do a lot of math. If Sai just went into code, I don't know if you'd be able to follow anything. So it's a step-by-step process. Okay, so everyone is Abraham. It's fine. So as we said, it's a step-by-step process. Every day you're going to learn one thing, and then leading up to the build where we're going to start to actually build. And it's going to be very intense. And you're going to start to see that many of the things you picked up from what we've done from day one will be integral because you're going to start going back to both the videos, to the GitHub repo, to implement into the your product. Like whatever you're going to build, the principles of design that Aaron has, it's fine. It's the principles of design that Aaron has mentioned is important for CEOs, it's important for designers. There are designers on the call. There are people that want to be designers tomorrow. There are principles. There are principles that are very key that cut across. And I'll say this also. Yeah, like Master Chief just said, be patient. Be patient. These guys are top professionals. These guys are top professionals you don't get to meet every day. They're bringing 10, 15 years of experience to speak to you. Don't take their words for granted. Don't take it for granted. Even if the person doesn't write code, the things he would tell you, you probably can't find it anywhere else. I think someone said something yesterday that I found very, forgive me, I found very annoying, and I'm going to call it out, that this seems like another theoretical thing. To be honest, it's very painful because we spent 8 months trying to get these speakers. Like, you guys don't understand how hard it is to get these guys to come and speak to you. It's a problem we have in Africa. You're getting talks from people that do. These are not people that they want to learn AI. They do. You go and check Sai's resume. Go and check Mr. Coller's resume. We're getting someone that's in Amazon that's coming to talk to you tomorrow. We're getting someone from Apple to talk to you tomorrow. We're getting a software developer that has over 20 years of experience. Like, these are people that have worked at multi-billion-dollar companies. So you need to be patient. So it's not, yeah. And honestly, if you feel like it's not worth your time, then it's fine. It's fine. But on Friday, on Tuesday, we're going to have like a time where you're going to see the alumni, people that participate in the build. They're going to tell you the benefits. And if it's not good enough for you, it's fine. But for those of you who appreciate this content, please, we're here for you. Something to mention again. I wasn't very happy with the number of people who uploaded online. I can see the numbers are dropping to 98. Apologies for what happened on Zara. Like we said, we had the numbers. We had too many people join Zara yesterday, and so Zara actually crashed. Like the numbers are too much. So we were trying to get it ready for today, but we couldn't get it ready in time. But by tomorrow, it should be back up because we didn't think we'll get as many people as um, um, Rita, no, I'm already vexing. Don't worry. So that's that. So I'm going to mention out the winners. So just to remind you guys, um, every day you're encouraged to make a post about what you learned for the day, preferably video content on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on TikTok. You should tag NSKAI and the Udara project. All the links we put on Discord. Like I would encourage you guys, build in public. Build in public. People are watching your growth. Every day when you give a descriptive explanation of everything you've done, they watch you. Mr. Kola that came to talk to us on Monday, he came because this is random, but I've been on LinkedIn. I've been using LinkedIn for many years, and we've been building NSKI for the past 5 years. I kept on talking about what I was doing every single day. And Mr. Kola stumbled upon my LinkedIn profile. Mr. Kola, we started to work together. We did something together. Mr. Kola, oh, his organization, his non-profit, gave us $2,000 for the build for you guys. So he's watched us year on after year. And again, he even offered for those of you who want to go into forward deployed engineering, there's going to be a boot camp for this, like, this crop. How many people know what FDE is? Do you know the opportunity you have where people are telling you what is relevant globally, not in Africa? I'm saying again, we're not trying to tell you what is relevant in Africa. It's what is relevant globally. The narrative has to change. We can't be teaching what is, I'm sorry, I'm taking shots, data analysis or data science. Again, I'm sorry, I'm taking shots. You can see you're hearing things you've never heard before. Markets that globally, these things are not relevant. So please do appreciate it. So talk about it online, you guys, because you don't know the people who are watching you. When you talk about FD, maybe someone is looking for, okay, I'm looking for a forward deployed engineer. So the person follows you and he's just watching you. And then during the build, you actually build something. And you don't know, people are going to come into your DM. So please build in public. So that's why I keep emphasizing, post every day, talk about what you learned. So I'm going to just call out the winners for yesterday. Again, just to mention to you guys, every day we're giving out $100 worth of prizes. We'll probably send you emails by probably like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm going to call out your name or your handles. So on X, we have Ibukun 04_Kuda rather. So you're one of our winners on X. Your video was fantastic. I watched it and I loved it. Again, I can't believe I'm saying this. Mr. Hosanna C, you're going to be our winner for X. So these are our two winners for X for yesterday. On Instagram, Tech with Nell, you're our winner. Again, no problem. IG, we have Jesu Wally Peter Godwin. You're our winner on IG. LinkedIn, we only have one winner, which is Dr. David Nelson. And on TikTok, we have no winners. So that is gone. So again, today, I want to see the videos you make. And then there's also like another prize for people who, so all your videos, I'm going to look at your videos from day 1 all the way to day 5. It could be, so it could be like videos, it could be tweets, just, I want to see the thread. Something to mention, I think we decided that we're going to have there's going to be like a final exam. We call it an exam or quiz on the final day. So I think that's going to be on Monday when we have the session on vibe coding. It is going to be challenging, I guarantee you. It may be, again, I can't say it might be up to 100 questions, but the only thing I can tell you is I did not say it will be 100. I said it might be, but it's going to be very challenging. And the idea is, while you're preparing, while you're taking the exam, you're really going to question, do you have an understanding of the core principles, the fundamentals that cut across every single session we've had? Design, building chatbot, AI agents in production, fundamentals, because that is the idea. I think I didn't. This is just me randomly saying. I don't really like the idea of us having certificates because I feel like what's obsessed with certificates in Africa. This is my idea. I can't. I don't know if my team would decide allow me to scrap certificates for now, but that's an argument for next year. Um, but okay, yeah. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron just dropped his tools um on in the chat, so you guys can check that out. So last thing is just it's going to be very challenging, but the idea is really to really test you. Did you really get something from this? And then, as I said, look forward to the build. For someone asking about the certificates, if you go to the Zera platform, the course we did yesterday, you'll see like take the quiz. There's no quiz. There will not be any quiz till the last day, which is on Monday. That's when we'll have like a quiz that covers on everything, and it's going to be really challenging. So thank you all for your time. Let me pass the mic to Samir if she'd like to say a few things before we end.
I don't think we have that much of time. We already are running out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt you. That's why I quiet. Uh, yeah. So about the winners, I think we need to drop them on Discord as well. And also, people who are posting and engaging on our social medias, please drop your post link on Discord so that we can interact with you, track your progress as well. Please don't forget to join Discord because every resource material you need will be there. You can ask questions there. And get ready, like you need to prepare for the build. You need to prepare your problems, the issues you want to bring to the table. What kind of problem are you trying to solve with the information or with the lessons you are getting in this session? So get prepared. And something I would love to mention here is, yes, you are not going to get everything from just attending these sessions. You need to review them, go through them again and again, go through the resource, the materials that are going to be shared with you again and again, ask questions, interact with one another. Then you will see the fruit and the result that from this event and the training sessions you are going to go through the coming few days. Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much for joining us today and for being patient with us as well. Any update will be shared on Discord. Yeah, have fun. Bye.